recent, current, and pending federal legislation to amend the Fair Housing Act on federal level. We are going to talk about that. Then I'm going to work back a little bit and talk about what our National Association of Realtors has done to make inroads in this area. But let's start with two pieces of legislation, one from 2010 and one from this year, that are both in the works to amend the Fair Housing Act. In 2010, we had HR 4820. That bill was entitled the Fair and Inclusive Housing Rights Act of 2010. The bill was introduced by Gerald Nadler of New York, Congressman Gerald Nadler, Congressman John Conyers of Michigan, Judy Chu from California, and Eleanor Norton from the District of Columbia. It was intended to extend housing protection to individuals regardless of sexual orientation and gender identity. At the time we learned about, I'm with the National Association of Gay and Lesbian Real Estate Professionals. We learned about HR 4820. At the time we learned about this piece of legislation, we were working on our own initiative to amend the Realtor Code of Ethics to include protections for LGBT individuals and to deal with the sexual orientation and eventually gender identity issues. When we learned about this bill, it was in committee, and about a year ago, Jeff Berger, who is the founder of the National Association of Gay and Lesbian Real Estate Professionals, and I were at the Hubert Humphrey Civil Rights Dinner in Washington, D.C. at the Hilton. And we saw that John Conyers was there, and so we sort of ran up to the dais and we were introduced to him. And Kanya Bennett, who is his, actually the House Judiciary Counsel, said, these gentlemen are working on something that's a companion to HR 4820. And Conyers smiled broadly and said, can you come back to Washington next week and for a briefing? Oh, we didn't turn that down. We came back and talked about that. And his goal was to get it out of committee. So at the time, there was a coalition letter being put together, and our National Association of Gay and Lesbian Real Estate Professionals was one of the co-signers of this coalition letter. There were other organizations, very auspicious organizations, that co-signed that letter, including HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, Southern Poverty Law Center. It was, you know, an auspicious group that endorsed this proposal. It did not get out of committee. There was some considerable opposition to it at the time. HR 4820 has been succeeded by the HOME Act. The acronym HOME, in this case, being Housing Opportunities Made Equal. And this is another Gerald Nadler bill, Gerald Nadler, Congressman from New York. This bill would extend critical federal civil rights protection to individuals regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, marital status, or lawful source of income. So this is a step ahead of what HR 4820 covered. My understanding is it's been reintroduced now by Gerald Nadler. I've been on the phone with people in the Nadler Congressional Office in New York and DC for several weeks now, trying to get a leg up on what's coming out of this. And it's right in the process of being reintroduced. When we were in Washington, D.C. last year at the National Association of Realtors mid-year meetings, we were invited to go to the National Fair Housing Alliance. And we went there and spoke with Dee Dee Swesnick. She's director there. And we talked with her about what we were doing. And Dee Dee said, you know, it was very important to them. They wanted to see lawful source of income in particular added to what was already on the table as far as sexual orientation and gender identity. So this was, they were to a large extent responsible for getting the issue of lawful source of income added to the mix. So, you know, these are two pieces of legislation. There's a growth of this going on in Congress right now. Of course, just about everything that comes out of the House right now is a party line vote. So as a result, it's not likely that any legislation of this sort is going to race to the House floor. It's going to be a battle. But what we did, and now I'm going to back up to what the Realtor community did, because our effort was designed to take the lead do something ahead of Congress. And so the National Association of Realtors has done that with its amendment to its Article 10. Article 10 of the Realtor Code of Ethics. And I can give you the verbiage of what passed. This passed the National Association of Realtors Board of Directors by vote on November 8th, 2010. It's a piece of civil rights and social justice history. We're very proud of it. And I'm going to give you the specific verbiage. It's in here somewhere. Anyway, here we go. This is what the delegate body voted to pass. Realtors shall not deny equal professional service to any person for reasons of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, or sexual orientation. So that was a change. Realtors shall not be parties to any plan or agreement to discriminate against a person or persons on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, or sexual orientation. And thirdly, and this is very important, I think, realtors in their real estate employment practices shall not discriminate against any person or persons on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, or sexual orientation. That's crucial because I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have heard of the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, ENDA. And so this third provision that was passed by the National Association of Realtors mirrors ENDA to a large extent. It provides protection for people in employment, protection from a broker that may elect to discriminate against them, or it could be the reverse. It could be an agent taking action against a broker, agents taking actions against one another. So this was a big step for the National Association of Realtors. Now I want to back up to actually something that began on March 6th, 2009. And we're very proud of this in Wisconsin. All of you should be proud of it too. The Wisconsin Realtors Association took the very bold step of introducing this proposal to the National Association of Realtors. And I'll go back a little farther than that. In 2007, I wrote a blog post on a blog site called Active Rain. Active Rain is the largest real estate blogging site anywhere. It's huge. It has, I believe, just over 100,000 members right now, 100,000 agents. Agents, brokers, mortgage professionals, people that are home stagers, the people in the real estate industry that are blogging about real estate concerns. I wrote a blog post in late 2007 because of an argument, because I had been in a discussion on a blog and I had someone who wanted to tell me that he could discriminate against whoever he wants to as long as they were gay or lesbian, because that's not covered in the Code of Ethics. And so after a lot of name calling and so forth, I wrote a post entitled, "It's time for NAR to revise the Code of Ethics to include protections for LGBT individuals." That post also got a lot of attention. And the post was read by a fellow named Jeffrey Berger. Jeff Berger is the founder of the National Association of Gay and Lesbian Real Estate Professionals. He called me from Delray Beach, Florida, and I'd never heard of him. He said, "I read your post. What made you write that?" And I told him. Next thing I knew, I was serving on their board of directors. Jeff put me on their board of directors. And over the next year, most of 2008, we began formulating or working on formulating a strategy for bringing this idea forward that we would get the National Association of Realtors to amend their Code of Ethics to add this. Rather than wait for the federal government to do it, we thought if we take the lead, Congress watches what NAR does very closely. Congress takes a lot of advice. We are a huge lobby. The Realtors are a huge lobby. 1.2 million members, I believe, right now, nationwide. I believe they are the sixth, I could be corrected on this, I think they're the sixth largest lobby in the United States in Congress, just behind the American Medical Association, behind ABA, American Bankers Association. They're big. So the idea was if we could get NAR to introduce this, Congress would take notice. We learned during 2008 that if we were going to do this properly, we were going to have to bring this proposal through a state association. And so we started to kick around, what state shall we go to? We talked about, I asked Jeff why he didn't go to Florida's Realtor Association. And it didn't occur to me that the Florida Realtor Association would never have submitted. So, you know, we discarded a number of ideas, you know, at that point. And we arrived at the idea of bringing it to Wisconsin because Wisconsin has one of the best, if not the best, record of dealing with discrimination against the LGBT community in the United States. Madison has redundant protections. The state of Wisconsin has protections. Wisconsin's been a leader in terms of protecting LGBT rights. So it was a natural idea to begin here. And I think it was, let's see, it was March 6th, 2009, was the first day that I served on the Wisconsin Realtors Association Equal Opportunity Committee. And I brought this proposal in, and I didn't know what was going to happen, but I brought it in. And there are a couple people in the room that were very involved in this at the beginning. Deborah Peterson-Conrad is the person who looks after our EOC and manages its affairs and sees to it that things are done correctly. I should have Deborah and Shar Glocky stand up. I'll tell you about Shar's role in this too, but they both deserve recognition for this proposal being introduced in Wisconsin. That proposal got a huge amount of support from our EOC. We were delighted. I called Jeff Berger that morning and I said, we made an excellent choice. We chose to go to Wisconsin. We made an excellent choice. In November of 2009, Shar and also Kevin King brought this proposal to San Diego to the National Association of Realtors Equal Opportunity Committee because it has to be kicked upstairs. It starts on the state level and then it goes to the national level. And so Shar and Kevin were present at the NAR convention and saying, you know, we want this to be introduced and to go through the process. So to us it was crucial that it was well begun and that it was begun in the right place. And again, I think Wisconsinites and certainly Wisconsinites who are concerned about fair housing can be justifiably proud of the way that Wisconsin Realtors Association handled this and brought it forward.